Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with Uncanny X-Men, the DRACO. Last week, Kurt Wagner's origins got a monkey wrench thrown in them, as it seems some dude named Azazel impregnated Mystique way back when. In the present, Nightcrawler and other teleporters were unconsciously drawn to a Caribbean island to create a portal that would allow an army of other dimensional malefactors through. A team of X-Men intervened, and one big ol' explosion later, there was a giant hole in the jungle of Isla des Demonas. The local tourism board has some updates to make. Issue 431's cover has North Star speeding across the ground. Neat image and all, but he could easily be mistaken for Quicksilver. Two mutant speedsters with white hair, though I guess Jean-Pierre's has bounced between black and white over the years, but enough about possible Canadian dye jobs. The team has dropped in an arid wasteland, along with Carter and the archaeologists. They're fine, though Bobby is reduced to an ice head that can move a little bit, blinking and so on, but not speak. Nightcrawler has snapped out of his trance with no memory of what he did. "My hands kinda melted to this other poor fellow who's rather dead at the moment." Just the kind of unconcerned response I'd expect from a guy like Kurt. He blacked out, woke up stuck to a dead guy, and acts like the restaurant just sold their last slice of Boston cream pie. Oh, and we're on the third issue of the story, not counting the prologue, and Jubilee finally gets to say 4 whole words. The first 2 affirm that she's unhurt, and then, when Wagner realizes he's naked and feeling modest, her other 2 words are apparently about being amazed by his junk. I'm not sure how old she's supposed to be. I know Marvel did age her a few years since her introduction, but this still seems kind of weird given the characters involved, especially since she was kind of like the little sister of the team. We then get a 2-page spread intro of our antagonists, Azazel and his forces, as the leader says he should have anticipated Nightcrawler to be joined by the other X-Men. Too many variables, too complex a plan. Or, and this is just one idea, you're very stupid? I mean, Holy War kind of did the same thing, flat out saying how grand the plan was and expecting that to be enough. One of his goons, Idrisil, identifies Warren as a Shiraphim, even having similar garb, but Azazel figures it's just a coincidence. Warren cuts Crawler free with a sword, not sure if that's one he carries around or got it in the fight, and offers to use his healing blood to repair the elf's damaged hand. And we get a panel of some guy's face on a white backdrop for some reason. Unfortunately, the rich boy's blood does not have the regenerative effects it's had before. "Warren, what did you do? Your blood is burning me!" "Oh, sorry. I must have had my blood set to scalding without realizing it. Let me just squeeze my earlobe and wait 5 minutes and try again." The blood's reaction to a Neophim seemingly confirms Yggdrasil's suspicions, even if his boss isn't entirely convinced. When Jillian, another minion who looks like a female version of Nightcrawler with wings, launches herself at the X-Man, declaring death to all angels. Worthington, despite having that big honkin' sword, just kind of sits there in bewilderment as someone beelines for him with a blade of her own. Good thing Husk steps in to defend him. Despite Azazel ordering everyone to stop, some of his minions join in the fight, and even though the majority of his forces seem to stay at bay, the X-Men are still outnumbered. Jubilee asks the noseless blue guy what he can do, which is open portals that suck things in, but he doesn't know where they go since they've never returned before. "Give it a shot, kid! Suck some of those bad guys into your dimensional hole!"
Hey, phrase it!
When he tries, stuff he's previously drawn in starts shooting out, like his skateboard, his neighbor's dog, and Mystique, meaning this guy is Abyss, whom Professor X was trying to find. Well, now all I can think is that dog gonna make it home okay? Issue 432's cover has Husk posing in front of a cosmic background and some kind of alien ship or something. I'm not sure if the X symbol there is meant to be part of that craft behind her or is meant as an independent thing next to her. The fight's still going, Wolverine making slashy, Jillian taking a moment to flirt with Nightcrawler, despite how very possible it is that they're related, until Azazel gives one final order for everyone to cease, surging with energy that branches out and immobilizes everyone on a 2-page spread. He had to do the same thing after the Game of Thrones series finale. That watch party took a real bad turn. Exhausted from trying to maintain the portal to Earth, Azazel needs to rest, and once recovered, He wants certain attendees with him in the dining hall. Kiwi Black, the guy whose face we saw in that white background last issue, Abyss, Professor Dibble, the archaeologist, Wolverine, Angel, Mystique, and of course Kurt. The rest can be tossed into the tombs or done with as his goons want. Great, now the rest of the team's gonna have to sit through a one-demon play about growing up in the suburbs of hell. Later in the dining hall, Azazel wants to know who the leader of the group is, figuring it can't be Wolverine, who's such a surly instigator. Man, if Wolverine and the X-Men was still on the air, he'd have so much egg on his face. Warren's repeated use of what the hell and who the hell is cited as an interesting way of posing his questions, which is the second time that wordplay has been used. And Azazel bluntly states, he's Kurt's father.
That's so funny. I have an uncle named Stop Bothering Me.
To avoid any spoilers leaking during production of this issue, Azazel originally said that Obi-Wan Kenobi killed the elf's father. In fact, he sired a lot of offspring, many who died in that explosion, as well as Abyss and Kiwi Black, framed as if he's somehow important to the story, or that we should already know him despite him first appearing in this arc. I initially thought he was one of Azzy's willing minions, but a wiki says that's not the case. Also, not sure why these pages are largely empty. Maybe for the ambience, but it kind of feels like wasted space to me. He goes on to state that his resident telepath, I'm going to go with Ginia, sewed her eyes shut to hone her powers without distraction, to ensure no manipulation of truth. Lies waste time and destroy trust. I'm an American living in the year of our Lord 2025 and the sociological and media landscape that comes with it. Tell me something I don't know. Though I can't say I'd be overly convinced that someone working for the enemy would confirm that her villainous boss was being honest. Again, the US in 2025. Having been given a tarp to wear around his waist in between panels, Kurt asks Mystique if she is his real mother, as she's often hinted at. Or, clearly stated! Why are they placing ambiguity on something that was already confirmed? Azazel answers that genetically she is, while he and Raven just go on and josh about her throwing her kid off a cliff as a baby.
Nothing more touching than a mother's love.
He further says he snagged little Kurt and left him with a friend of his, the elf stepmother, Margali, who apparently lied about finding him washed up on a riverbed to avoid other Romani's fear of who Azzy really is. He's apparently gone by numerous names, like Huma, Gadriel, Mastima, or more commonly...
Let me guess. Satan?
The archaeologist, Dibble, doesn't believe it, and when Ginia senses he does, given his recent historical findings, but is fearful of the truth, Dibble doubles down, saying Satan is little more than folklore, and she is as big a liar as her master. Questioning Azazel's honesty just sets Idrazil right off, killing Dibble for this insult, and the self-professed devil says others should think twice before calling him a liar in his own house. Okay, smelly McPoo-Poo face it is! There are two other subplots going on, so I'll get them out of the way here for context in the next episode. First up, why Lorna went bonkers. Human nurse Annie joins Chuck in probing Lorna's mind, where she's toyed with a little, like Polaris showing off a memory of her and Alex doing it, but it moves on to a recollection of her in a lab, testing to see if she was Magneto's daughter. A previous examination proved negative, but the person performing it wasn't exactly trustworthy, and Lorna's parents died under mysterious circumstances, so suspicions abound. Turns out that yes, she is Magneto's kid. Boy, Maury Povich would have a field day with this arc. And the plane that crashed and took her birth mother was highly magnetized, suggesting Eric's involvement. She went to Genosha to confront him, but he must have found out about her testing and told everyone ahead of time, because Lorna was greeted with adulation as a princess of the island. Lorna Dane, the mutant-powered, sociopathic Disney princess. People were still worshipping her when Sentinels attacked and wiped the Genoshans out, witnessing kind people slaughtered before her, not knowing which of the many robots to take out first. All she could really think about was that Magneto was right about humans. Overwhelmed, she retreated, flying away encased in a magnetic bubble to find safety, but still hearing the screams of citizens dying. So all her years of battle on one X team or another, and none of her training or fighting skills kicked in? Is this how the revelation of her parentage affected her? No explanation is given here, and none of this is really adding up for me. When the psychic probe is concluded, Lorna says she won't try to hurt anyone anymore, and only wanted someone, Alex in particular, to love her so she could forget her trauma. Charles understands and is brought to tears. And so is Annie, though she's hiding under a table. And if you thought this would be the end of the catty adversarial Polaris, you're out of luck, as she still continues to taunt Annie for her reaction to this experience. Then it's shortly after this that they're told that Carter, Annie's son, is missing, later connecting to the main story. He thinks the dogs on Paw Patrol are actually mutants and went to go recruit them. He might have a problem telling fantasy from reality. On to the Juggernaut portion. When he pulled his stepbrother aside, Marco demanded a plane to go to Vancouver, see his little buddy Sammy, already knowing about his abusive home life. Charles is hesitant, since the big guy is a wanted criminal, making Kane agitated, from shouting to busting a wall, and flying debris cutting Chuck's face, hence him having a bandage later. Nice detail. He still holds a grudge how his dad loved the prof more than his own biological son, and how when they were younger men, Baldy was aware the gem of Sidorak had empowered Kane to survive a mountain collapsing, and left him to die. And Charles owns up to that, saying he was scared of and angry at Kane, and that Papa Marco beat him as well. While both men confess they didn't use their gifts to stop him, neither one's telepathy nor the other's propensity for strength, because each thought they deserved it. Kids can make the mistake of thinking they deserve intense abuse from their parents. Heck, so do adults in their relationships or work environments. But was pre-Gem of Sidorak Kane really strong enough as a kid to stand up to his old man? Eventually, Charles acquiesces, having trained pilot Northstar take Jugsy. It's a funny scene where they take jabs at each other, though some might see Marco asking why the speedster can't just like girls as kinda homophobic, but he's supposed to be a former villain trying to do better, and Jean-Pierre handles it well. Picking up back with Sammy, his telepathic chat with Carter was interrupted because he was attacked by a group of bullies that had picked on him before he left for the US. There's a weird exchange where Squid Boy makes a sex with your mom joke, and his bully retorts that he wouldn't be surprised.
What?
Great kid, this one. This time, however, Sammy starts fighting back, pummeling his aggressor mercilessly, even when he begs for him to stop. But Sam don't stop for nothing, because he's the Juggernaut. Oh, so he's the Juggernaut from Spider-Girl Zero. That totally makes sense. Later at his house, Sam's mother is scolding her husband for how he's behaved when there's a knock at the door. It's Kane Marco, who's all dressed nice and civil-like, wanting to see if the fish boy is okay, despite the restraining order against him. He planned this whole routine of trying to pass himself off as a door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman, but he forgot his fake mustache back at the mansion, so he's going for the more direct approach. Mrs. Paré runs into the house, grabbing a small box with a large, distinctive button on it. "Oh, thank goodness, our table at Canadian Applebee's is finally ready." Sam is indeed back from his little jaunt, hugging his large friend, when Kane sees bruises on his scaly face, immediately blaming the dad, Claude.
Urge to kill rising.
No mention is made of how some of those injuries are from other kids, also no word on how that one kid is faring. Marco goes on the offensive, breaking Claude's arm and throwing him through the wall for starters, all while verbally berating him for crying out in pain and all that. That controller the mom was relentlessly pressing was actually a signal device, which has summoned 3 members of Alpha Flight, Guardian, Vindicator, and Sasquatch, the latter of whom, for whatever reason, seems to attack Juggernaut first, with little regard to the destruction it causes the Paré home. Look, I know Canadians aren't all super polite and relaxed, like the stereotypes suggest, but you'd think they'd show just a little bit of restraint instead of demolishing someone's house. Way to go, heroes! Despite all the injuries, Sammy's dad is still alive, so Northstar will rush him to a hospital, asking Sam to look after his mom until he gets back. The kid is confident Juggernaut isn't going to hurt them, so he's not all that worried as Jean-Pierre leaves with Claude. However, as the fight escalates, rubble falls on Sam's mom, and she's unresponsive. Part 6 has a different art team, and Marco somehow finding a new shirt to wear in the middle of the fracas. Sasquatch is apparently incapacitated for the moment. Kane easily takes the fight out of Vindicator, and he busts Guardian's Hulkbuster armor, all while snarking about the Canucks. Then he sees Sam, who begs the brute not to hurt them anymore. Seeing the kid he was only looking out for gaze upon him with fear pretty much takes all the fight out of Kane, to the point that when Sasquatch starts wailing at him, he has to be told to stop, since the unstoppable Juggernaut isn't even fighting back anymore. He's subsequently taken into custody, which doesn't concern the main story. Our next episode, on the other hand, does. I mean, it kind of has to, right? How will Nightcrawler's family reunion end? How will this affect him when all is said and done? And what other details will be needlessly retconned for the sake of drama? Tune in next week for the conclusion. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.